7 Secrets of the Goddess by Devdutt Pattanaik. Chapter 4. Durga's Secret. Everyone lives on the edge in fear. Part 3. The Grama Devi embodies not just the village, but also each and every woman in the village. In many ways, she is the goddess. Her house is the temple, and she is her own priestess. Traditionally, it is she who plastered the house and floor with cow dung each day and painted images on and in front of it with rice flour. This ritual painting is called Kolam in Tamil Nadu, Rangoli in Maharashtra, and Alpana in Bengal. She invoked the goddess through rituals known as vrata, which did not involve the intervention of priests. It involved her either staying away from a particular form of food or eating a particular form of food. Her rituals brought in good energy into the household, ensured prosperity and peace. Her anger and unhappiness brought in disease. She was the diminutive double of the goddess, dressed as such during the wedding ceremony. Her entry into the house was celebrated as if a goddess were entering the house. For with her entry, the kitchen fire would survive for yet another generation, and she would bring forth the next generation of the clan. In South and West India especially, women hold ceremonies called Haldi Kunku, during which married women gather and greet each other with turmeric, red powder, flowers, and gifts. This is a ritual of women, for women. Widows are not allowed, reaffirming the ritual's links with fertility more than femininity. A similar festival is found in Bengal, where married women smear each other with vermilion powder on the final day of Durga Puja. Domestication of women mirrored domestication of nature. Her freedom was curtailed as she approached puberty. She was not allowed to cook or touch anyone when she was menstruating. She was valued for being fertile and feared when she was not fertile, as during menstruation or after she became a widow. This created anxiety, depression, and frustration in women, which was the common explanation given for hysterical trances, a way of letting out repressed emotions. Traditionally, this was explained with the phrase, "The Devi has come," making women the medium of the goddess who spoke what otherwise could never be spoken. Stories of goddesses in rural shrines often reflect this tension between the village and nature, as well as the tension between women and men in marriage. The most popular of these stories is that of Renuka Yellamma. There is a scriptural Sanskrit version of this story in the Purans, as well as an oral version of the story. In the Puranic version, Renuka one day sees a handsome Gandharv bathing in a river. For a moment, she harbors sexual desire for him. Until then, she has thought of no one else sexually except her husband, Jamadagni, a great tapasvin. The sage senses her momentary lack of fidelity and demands that she be beheaded. The sons who refuse to do so are cursed to turn into eunuchs. The youngest son, Parshuram, raises his axe and severs his mother's neck. There are many oral versions of what happens next. In one version, when the father offers his obedient son a boon, Parshuram asks his mother to be brought back to life, and she is, thanks to Jamadagni's powers accumulated through tapasya. In another version, a non-Brahmin woman tries to stop the matricide and gets decapitated herself. Parshuram replaces his mother's head on the non-Brahmin woman's body and the non-Brahmin head on his mother's body, creating confusion as to who is his real mother. In still another version, the head and body become deities in their own rights. The head is Yellamma and the body is Huligamma. Here, the tension is not just about fidelity, it is also about caste. In the oral version of the Renuka Yellamma story, a young Brahmin girl discovers that her husband is no Brahmin and in fury beheads him. Some believe this story belongs to a distinctly different Grama Devi, often addressed as Amma Veru, whose name means the lady, a generic title for the village goddess. While in the Puranic story it is the woman who is killed, in the folk story it is the man who is killed. In the Puranic story, the Brahmin woman is killed because she is contaminated by her adulterous desire as well as by her contact with the non-Brahmin woman. In the oral story, the man who is killed is a Brahmin pretender. Both the body and the head of Renuka are objects of worship, especially in the Deccan region of India. Known variously as Yellamma or Huligamma, she is invoked by women for children and is commonly associated with the Devdasi cult, women who were not bound by limitations of marriage. While this was meant to give these women freedom to choose lovers without losing social standing, it often ended up making them prostitutes as they were denied all sources of wealth. Chaste women are described in scriptures as sati and associated with magical powers. Renuka, for example, before she desired another man, had the power to collect water in unbaked pots. In the Ramayana, Sita is able to walk through fire because she is chaste in mind and body. In the Purans, there is the story of Shilavati, who is able to stop even the sun from rising using the power of chastity. Chastity even makes a wife more powerful than the gods, as we learn from the story of Anasuya. On the request of their wives, Shiva, Vishnu and Brahma take the form of 3 young men trying to seduce Anasuya, the chaste wife of Atri. They ask that she let them suckle her breast so that they can end their vow of fasting. Anasuya agrees, but such is the power of her chastity that no sooner does she bare her breast than the gods turn into children and are restored to their normal form only when the wives of the gods apologize. The belief was that a sati protects her husband with the powers of chastity. When Vrinda's husband, an asura called Jalandhar, was killed by Devas, everyone accused her of infidelity. She then learned that Vishnu himself had come to her house taking the form of Jalandhar. A Vishnu devotee, she is furious that he has tricked her so, and she demands justice. Vishnu was cursed into the Shaligrama stone for his overzealous determination to save the Devas, while Vrinda was transformed into the Tulsi plant and kept in the courtyard of the house. Outside, yet inside. No worship of Vishnu is complete without offerings of Tulsi sprigs. She is present in everyone's house to remind women of the power of chastity. Belief that a woman's chastity protects her husband led to the popularization of the infamous sati practices, especially amongst warrior communities like the Rajputs, where women burned themselves on the funeral pyre of their husbands killed in war. This practice was valorized and glamorized, with these women turning into goddesses. It was expected to be voluntary, with everyone believing that the power of sati would protect these women from the heat of the flames. Rani Sati Mata is still worshipped in Rajasthan and many parts of India, though the practice has been made illegal as this belief has been seen as enabling the oppression and mistreatment of women. Sita and Draupadi, the female protagonists of the 2 great epics of Hinduism, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, are always on the edge between the wild and sovereign Kali and the demure and dependent Gauri. They appear as wives but, when challenged, display their Kali-like form. They are not forced to domesticate themselves, they choose to domesticate themselves out of empathy for humanity. Any attempt to force them to be domestic, as Renuka is, transforms them into fiery goddesses who refuse to be tamed. This is reinforced in the story of Sita, who has many reasons to be unfaithful to her husband Ram, who continuously doubts her chastity, but she refuses to turn her back on him. But Draupadi refuses to take her abuse lying down and demands blood. In the Mahabharata, the Kauravas try to publicly disrobe Draupadi, declaring her a public woman as she has 5 husbands. A furious Draupadi displays her rage by refusing to tie her hair until she has washed it with the blood of her abusers. She stops being the demure Gauri and evokes Kali. This so frightens the father of the Kauravas that he begs Draupadi to leave the gambling hall with her dignity intact, along with her husbands who had foolishly gambled themselves and her away. Eventually, the war happens, and Draupadi washes her hair with the blood of her abusers. So in South India, Draupadi is worshipped just like other Grama Devis as Amma, the mother, who is terrifying and needs appeasement. Amongst Grama Devis, Draupadi is much more popular than the silent, stoic Sita, sadly projected as a whimpering, heartbroken doormat even in 20th century feminist retellings. Chapter 4. Durga's Secret. Everyone lives on the edge in fear. Part 2. Chapter 4 Durga's Secret. Everyone lives on the edge in fear. Part 4.